think Zach Wilson's a bust. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I do.
Wow.
As he says, hello, darkness, my old friend.
I refuse.
Brian Robinson, many men, they wish death upon him.
And I think Rob's going head first into the pavement.
Bobby, how does the fucking pavement taste, buddy?
He's that guy. He's Himothy.
No, Saquon!
Absolutely no reason for him to think he can have any chance of being a playoff team.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to a whole new season of Dynasty Nation. My name's Kevin.
I'm Rich.
And I'm Jimmy.
And we are back for season 2. Rich, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, my team's locked and loaded, full gear for the 23 season. I'm very excited to get it underway. We're still a long ways away, but we're here to provide some great content up until then. How you doing, Jim?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. The team's going in a bit of a different direction, I think, this year. You know, trying to maybe look a little bit to the future. You know, 2 straight second-place finishes. So maybe it's time to change things up a little bit.
Yeah, there's been so much change from the end of last year, this whole offseason that we're still having right now, going into the 2023 season. It's exciting, man. Honestly, like I think we can all agree it's never been more competitive. Honestly, like everyone looks like they have a pretty good chance. There is a heavy favorite. I will get into that, but yeah, man, it's gonna be fun. But today we're gonna be talking about our rookie draft. So Jim, why don't you get started here? Start of our first round.
All right, so yeah, first round here, first pick overall. Jason wins the lottery via Bob's pick, actually.
Yep.
And he gets the 101, no doubt about it, Bijan Robinson, running back for the Atlanta Falcons. And I just think he's primed for a really good season in Atlanta. Algier's the only person to really give him any kind of competition, but he should really blow Algier out of the water. Mm-hmm. Already seeing some use at wide receiver just in these early practice days, but overall, I mean, you can't complain about the pick at all. There's nothing to complain about. What do you think?
There's no other pick that should have been made there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole league and the whole Dynasty community is in agreement that Bijan Robinson is, as they say, him, and I think that Jason is, there's finally some direction for Jason's team, and like he was a true bottom feeder last year, and we'll get into this as we get into the projections as the offseason goes on. Yeah, it's past 2 years, and it's good to see Jason have some direction. He might just trade him. You know how Jason does, but I think that like Bijan is set firmly on Jason's team, and like maybe the turnaround can really start this year with Jason's team.
Yeah, definitely, man. I think I think Bijan Robinson could very likely be ahead of Saquon Barkley in terms of a pure prospect. I know Saquon was obviously way better draft capital, but I mean, times were changing, and the league doesn't value running backs the way they used to, or at least in the draft anyway. But this draft, I mean, hello, Bijan at 8, Jahmyr Gibbs at 12. I mean, maybe there's been a turnaround with the running back position, but we'll see. But crazy, man. But yeah, Bijan Robinson is certainly him. Moving on, I had the pick. Grogan, he was the second pick, but a very controversial trade at the time last year to acquire this pick. Rich, what did you think of my selection here with Jackson Smith and Jigba?
Well, it definitely wasn't surprising. Ever since you acquired that pick, I feel like it kind of became known that if you weren't getting Bijan, then JSN was where you were going to go with it, and I think it's a great pick. You know how I feel about building my team, that I start with the receivers, so I definitely see why you went in this direction. I thought maybe you would go quarterback just based on the Superflex up and coming, but I think that based on the running backs that you had, you wouldn't go Gibbs. I think that in terms of overall building your team structure, it was a great pick for you. And, some people are saying that landing spot's not great for him. I disagree. I think it's a potent offense, great coaching. And I think he could, we're not doing hot takes right now, but like, I think he could end up being, I believe in him up there in terms of top receivers in Dynasty after this season.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I was just saying that it was probably the worst kept secret that you were going to go JSN too.
Yeah.
Personally, it wouldn't have been the pick I would have made, but I understand why you went that route. Obviously, your team's trying to look to compete, I think, more this year than necessarily long-term goals. But like Rich said, with the super flex around the corner, so he wasn't for me even in my top 4. I think I even had him outside my top 5 players in this draft for dynasty purposes. But like I said, I understand the pick.
Yeah, like Rich mentioned, we are transitioning to Superflex, so we are still a 1 quarterback league for all those that are watching that haven't been keeping up with our channel here, just discovering us. We appreciate you checking out the channel. So this season is still 1 quarterback, so I figure JSN. I mean, I've always been a fan of his talent and what he's done at Ohio State, especially his sophomore season, which was really the only year he played. But even in high school, in Texas, which our friend Richie here is from, so repping Texas out here. But yeah, man, I've always just been a huge fan of his, and granted, with Superflex upcoming, I did think about quarterback for a while, for much of the offseason, but at the end of the day, I had to go with my guy. And yeah, man, I couldn't be happier to be having a front row seat to watch his career unfold. But number 3, unsurprisingly, in my opinion, because I was really, really torn. If I wasn't going JSN, I was thinking about Gibbs. But number 3 overall went Jahmyr Gibbs to Jason. So, Jim, what was your initial thoughts here with Gibbs?
Yeah, it's kind of the direction I saw Jason going here. If you went JSN, I feel like he was going to grab one of those two, JSN or Gibbs, just because he's already got Lamar Jackson and Justin Fields at quarterback at that time. So it's not necessarily a priority for him to grab, a third quarterback just yet. So I could see him with what his running backs were going into that, grabbing Gibbs. I think it was a great pick. Obviously, you got the NFL draft capital nice and early there, going to the Lions, which I don't think many people saw coming at all. So
heartbreaking to me at the time.
So it's a really good pick, I think, by Jason. It's just solidifying that running back room of Bijan and Gibbs for the future. So it's definitely go time for Jason now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like the pick, especially since a move that he made, which I think was one of the smartest moves of the entire first round, and it goes underrated, was the fact that he traded with Alexi to get the 6th pick. And that's why we were all waiting. I don't know if you remember, we were waiting at the 3rd pick for a long time.
We were, yeah.
And I think that Jason was torn on taking a quarterback or Gibbs, but once he traded up to that 6th pick, he ensured that he was going to get one of the quarterbacks by making that decision. So I think that this has set him up from, if you remember his running backs last year, it was Kareem Hunt and Kenneth Gainwell. And now you could say that he has one of the brightest running back rooms in the entire league, if not the brightest in terms of future.
He did also have Breece Hall, though, who did trade away.
Yeah. So again, you never know who's going to stay on Jason's roster long term. But yeah, I mean, honestly, if he didn't trade Breece Hall away, he wouldn't have ended up with Bijan Robinson, because that was Bobby's pick who he traded him to.
Right.
So I think that, I know we all kind of clown Jason. Some of his moves haven't been great, but I think that going into the season, he's done a pretty solid job. And I think Gibbs is going to be a great player in the league.
Me too, man. I think he's going to be a PPR machine for sure, right out of the gate. Obviously, with Swift being dealt soon after to Philly, I mean, that was really the only question mark he had. It's like, oh, well, now you have so many running backs, but then they got rid of Swift, and you still have David Montgomery there. But I mean, Gibbs is just going to be the Swift role there, really, with pass catching ability. Still can run between the tackles. I mean, and you have Montgomery probably more of like the goal line back there. But yeah, man, with that offense, and they're continuing to ascend. Detroit is definitely a fun offense. So yeah, I expect Gibbs to be, honestly, I could see him being top 15 as rookie year right out of the gate. But number 4, I thought was a shocker for me. I get it. I get why you did it, Jim. But at number 4, again, upcoming Superflex. So we just went 3 straight skill position players. But number 4 goes Anthony Richardson. So, Jim, why don't you talk a little bit about why you went Richardson over Young and Stroud?
Oh, man. So, yeah, for a couple of reasons, I think he's got the physical ability, I think he's like 6'4". He's like Cam Newton size,
yeah, he's
but
massive.
bigger. And it's like, for durability wise, I was kind of a little bit nervous about Bryce Young. I really don't think Bryce Young's going to have many fully healthy seasons. He looks like me behind the offensive line, which is scary. So, Plus, he also, to me, Anthony Richardson, he had the best landing spot. He already goes into an offense that has Jonathan Taylor at running back. He's got Michael Pittman outside. Some fun young pieces at his wide receiver 2 and 3 with Alec Pierce and Josh Downs. So I just feel like he has the most upside. I know Bob's going to clown me. Oh, he's got the most upside. Well, he does have the most upside. That's why.
Yeah, he does. He definitely does.
And for my roster, already having Joe Burrow, I already have that, the solidified piece that I felt like it was well worth it to take, a home run swing here with the 4th overall pick.
Yeah, I thought that Jim was in kind of a can't lose situation at that 4th spot because, he has quarterbacks on his roster. So if Jason went quarterback, he still could have gotten Gibbs. But, I think that he was actually blessed to be able to get potentially like one of the highest upsides like in the entire dynasty, in the entire NFL period. I think that Jim gets the biggest sack of the draft award for this pick because a lot of people are down on him. He's kind of like a polarizing prospect, but I think in terms of becoming just a game-breaking quarterback with Superflex on the horizon, Jim's team is set up in a way where it's not like he's like desperate for a quarterback, so like it's a good risk for him to take there. I think, and I just think that the risk-reward proposition of that is was a great move for Jim. Great pick.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of, people can say whatever they want, but pure upside, there is no quarterback or player in this entire draft with more upside than Anthony Richardson. With that combination of tools that he has, obviously the biggest knock on him right now is just he's extremely, how accurate can he develop to become? But in terms of like his just raw skill set, there's not many quarterbacks that can do what he does. We just saw what Justin Fields did this past year, who himself wasn't a great passer. So we can see it translate to fantasy, and obviously that's all Jimmy was thinking about, obviously, with that pick.
And with Fields, he's got way worse weapons too. So
exactly,
he's going into this year different. But for me, Richardson was my number 2 guy on my draft board going into it. I had Bijan, Richardson, Gibbs, and Stroud as my top 4.
Mm-hmm. And then I'll just go real quick, just kind of back to back here. The other 2 quarterbacks, Bryce Young at 5 and CJ Stroud at 6. You guys agree with that order there, or go a little different?
I would have gone Stroud over Young just for durability's sake. I think Stroud and Young, I don't think they're really that much separated in terms of talent. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to durability, I feel much more confident with CJ Stroud than I do with Bryce Young, just for size. And, maybe at the end of the day, Bryce Young is better, but if it comes down to is Bryce a little bit better but only plays, 10 games a year, or CJ Stroud's, a little bit worse and plays, 16 games. So right. That's kind of the breaking point for me.
Yeah, again, I think that it's kind of like similar with Richardson. It's like an upside versus safe pick there. I would go Bryce Young before CJ based on the talent, but I do think that CJ Stroud is kind of the safest quarterback in the draft to at least be a quality starting quarterback in the NFL, just based on body type and skill set.
Yeah, I definitely agree that CJ Stroud is probably, of the 3, probably the safest. Like, they were all pretty good quarterbacks. Like, we got blessed. Like, for the past couple of years, I feel like there haven't been that many great quarterbacks. 2020 was obviously great, but I just felt like, 3 years of that, we just haven't had it since. So to see, these top quarterbacks go in the first round, and, it was a nice change of pace, to say the least. But yeah, I totally agree. CJ Stroud is probably a bit safer, but Bryce Young did go first overall. So obviously that we got to factor that in a little bit. Do they always get it right? Of course not, but it'll be interesting. It'll definitely be interesting. I believe Bryce Young is in a better situation his rookie year compared to CJ Stroud in Houston. But we'll see. Obviously both 21, 22 years old. So gonna be very fun to watch them develop. But moving on here, we had back-to-back receivers, Quentin Johnston and Zay Flowers. I kind of want to just skip ahead because I think it was kind of wild that this guy fell. But Zach Charbonnet went after Zay Flowers and then Jordan Addison. I feel like anywhere you look or anyone you ask in dynasty circles, those 3 are like kind of grouped together, similar to the quarterbacks. So to see Alexi, who will talk more about a little later, another episode perhaps. Taking Zach Charbonnet over Jordan Addison. I get it. Maybe his roster construction had something to do with it, but at the end of the day, the value is, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. Maybe Lexi's a genius. But
I'd like to stop right here because this was personal for me. So yeah. First of all, let's call out Jay's pick of Zay Flowers. Great to match him up with Lamar Jackson, Baltimore. Quentin Johnson, I think you could have taken any of those really three receivers in that order, and you could make an argument for it. But then I get a text from Alexi. I'm being totally candid here in how this went down before the Charbonnet pick, because I was floored by it. I get a text basically being my back pressed against the wall saying, "I'm taking Zach Charbonnet. What will you give me for him?" And I was just like, I don't know. And then he was like, "Give me Ayuk, your first," and I forgot the other thing that he said, and Damian Harris for this pick and Allen Robinson. I was like, get out of my face. And so at that point, when you come to me with an offer that extreme, I then think, okay, he's pulling my chain. He's just trying to, he's not actually going to take Charbonnet. He's just trying to see what I would do to trade for that, to get that, to give him as much as possible for that pick, which, that would have been a smart move by him. I would have respected that. And the reason why I said, no, I won't even talk to you about this, because like if I did trade up, I would be smart and I would take Addison over Charbonnet.
For the record, really quick, Rich is a Kenneth Walker owner, so obviously it would make sense why he would want Charbonnet. So.
I think that, I think that everybody else, I think that when Charbonnet got drafted to the Seahawks, his value got cut, severely. But the only team in the league that would have a high value for him would be me, truly a high value. The only team that would be justified to take him, where Alexi took him. So I thought Alexi was bluffing, and I say, you know what? Enjoy Charbonnet. You'd be dumb to do it, skipping out on a talent like Addison, but go ahead. And I sat there, he didn't fool me. He's not gonna bait me into this. And then what do I see? A. Paran has drafted Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah.
And I don't think that he's been ridiculed enough for just letting Addison slip to Carmine, who seems to always be there when other people mess up, to just take the easy pick.
Yep. Yeah, man. I can't believe that Carmine was able to steal Jordan Addison at 10.
Yeah, insane.
That's wild to me, man. I think Jordan Addison of those three receivers is the best of the three.
Yeah, people are overlooking.
I had him up there close to JSN.
Right, and a lot of people did too. And it's some people even had Addison over JSN.
I think it's just the fact that he was paired with Jefferson, and people view that as a negative, but that frees both of them up.
Best thing that could have happened to him. He would never be a true wide receiver one type. I mean, he could be. I don't think he will be personally, but you're paired. Yeah, like you said, you paired with literally the best receiver in football.
That's a Chase and Higgins right there potentially. That's a Tyreek and Waddle. That could be one of those situations.
That's been the recipe lately for these really good teams with receivers. So,
and it bolsters Carmine's receiver core there.
He won the Biletnikoff 2 years ago at Pitt. Not even at USC with Caleb Williams, at Pitt with Kenny Pickett at the time. Yeah. Wins the Biletnikoff, then gets recruited to go to USC in the transfer portal. Plays with Caleb Williams, still has another great season. I mean, what more can you ask for this guy to not be taken, this high?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a long string of interesting decisions from Alexi, which we'll get into.
Yeah, and just really quick, because it was also his pick, but he did take Quentin Johnson as the second receiver off the board here, again over Zay Flowers, over Addison, just crazy to me. But moving on, last two picks in the first round, Rich, you were able to snag Devin A-Chain. And Jason was this his fourth first round pick or third? Fourth.
Yep.
Fifth. 2, 3, 4, fifth first round pick.
Sounds like Jason.
Yeah. Jason was able to snag Kendre Miller at the 112. So Rich, were you? I mean, obviously you are a Dolphins fan as well, but it was A-Chain probably like one of the easiest picks you could have made there, or were you kind of contemplating anyone else?
I sat with it for a long time. You know, I really thought Charbonnet was going to fall to me, and that was just in my mind, like the perfect way for this draft to rely. I had one pick in the whole draft, and I would have been very happy if I was just able to get like an elite handcuff to Walker, because at least it's like, you know, if one of them does happen to be a lot better than the other, like at least I have that one. But you know, having A-Chain like fall to me there as well, like, you know, I was torn between A-Chain and Condre Miller. Like I like what Jason took next. Like I was torn, but I am a Dolphins fan, so that swayed me a little bit. And I thought that he has potentially the biggest potential of having a year one impact in this rookie draft. And I'm looking to be a win now team, and I think that him and McDaniel are gonna. I think that like McDaniel has hard eyes for this kid just based on his speed and the way that he likes to use running backs. I think that as long as we don't add a veteran, which we could, you know, there's rumors of that. I think A-Chain could be, you know, like with that explosive speed, you know, just in one play he can get you like 7 fantasy points potentially. And I just think that like, you know, on those bye weeks, if I want to put him in out of the flex or something, I think that he could be a big help to me this year.
I feel like he landed in the perfect spot, man. I feel like out of all the teams he could have went to, for him to go to Miami, the way they run their offense with the running backs too, it's like, who are they going to guard, man? Who are they going to – you can't cover everybody in Miami. So, and with that speed, like you said, I mean, that's – dude, it's going to be fun to watch. He'll definitely have a role early. I don't know about ever being a workhorse, but he doesn't need to be fantasy relevant. So, definitely a great pick. And yeah, like with Kendre Miller, I mean, I think going to the Saints was pretty solid. You know, obviously they just signed Jamal Williams. Kamara, I mean, his suspension, we're not sure. I mean, it's kind of been quiet lately with that. But Jim, what do you think about Kendre Miller going to the Saints, and what do you expect from his rookie year?
Yeah, I think you kind of just touched on it. The whole thing with Alvin Kamara kind of just seems a little like you don't really know what's going to happen, how it's going to play out. You know, will he get suspended? Will he not get suspended? You know. He's also starting to get up into that running back age of, you know, when's his downhill going to come. So it's something to look out for. Obviously, Jamal Williams seems like, you know, if he's going to have any kind of role, it's going to be like what he had in Detroit, you know, main goal line back, big energy guy, obviously. So I could see Kendre starting to get a little bit of touches this year, but as long as Kamara is on the field and Jamal Williams are healthy, he probably is going to, you know, be on the back burner for this year. But definitely someone to watch going forward, maybe year 2, year 3.
Yeah, definitely. I think as soon as next year, he could start to make a real big impact there. Who knows what, I mean, I know Jamal Williams, I think he got like a 3-year deal. I mean, who knows if he plays that entire contract in New Orleans. But yeah, one injury away, and all of a sudden Miller is like one of the hottest commodities in like redraft, like waiver wire ad, you know. But Dynasty, I mean, yeah, great pick.
Yeah, the reason why I was torn between A-Chain and him is because I think that he has potential like to be one of those second half studs, like what Algier did last year, or Pacheco. You know, guys
Walker.
But not as good as Walker. But but you know, just kind of like take over the offense, like if the team's not necessarily like hitting on all cylinders, and you know, just really see what this kid's got, especially with the whole Kamara thing. I think Kamara like was even kind of starting his downhill slide last year, even without the you know, the suspension on the way. So yeah, I definitely think that was a great pick for Jason.
All right, so now moving on to the second round. Rich, what stood out to you here?
So for me, what stood out was an interesting move by DeVito. The fact that he traded 24, 25, either way.
Yeah,
First round 25 first round pick from Senia's team to Jason for Roshan Johnson. And I think it's interesting that like Jim traded a first for not a first. You know, and like Roshan Johnson, yes, a nice player, but I could, like, when I'm dealing picks, maybe I'm in the wrong for just trying to foresee a future for the teams of the picks that I'm trading. But if you look at Senia's roster, it's pretty like top heavy on the age standpoint. And like, you know, we just saw what happened with Alexi's team this offseason. When you go fully all in, you have to be very graceful about how you turn that into sustain success going forward, not just completely fall off a cliff. And so I think that just seeing what happened to Alexei, that 25 pick from Senia is pretty valuable, just like the not knowing of it. And just to give that away for a second round pick to draft, like, a running back that, like, could be good, but like you don't really know. So I thought that was a very interesting move from DeVito, and a big move from Jason. And again, Jason really racked up the strategic moves in this draft here.
Yeah, I mean, Roshan, I think, just to defend Jimmy a little bit, because I know he was talking to me about it after the fact, he is severely bought in on the hype that Roshan could, win the job out of camp potentially, that's a big ask. I mean, granted, he's only battling with Khalil Herbert, so there's definitely a chance that he wins the role, but like I agree with you, Rich, to give up a first round pick on a guy who might be a player for your team, who might not at this point, I think that was a little hefty in price tag.
Yeah, definitely. It's just that isolated value. I mean, it's never going to go down. Who knows what Roshan's career is going to look like? I hope the best for him. I do like him a lot, but to be fair, DeVito is also a Bears fan, so maybe he'll kick himself at the end of this one. But I do like him a lot as a player. But yeah, for that value, I couldn't do it. But Jim, what player stood out to you here in the second round?
Oh man, I was clawing my way trying to trade up. I tried to trade up, I think, from anywhere from 112 all the way to when this guy was taken, and that's Michael Mayer. He went at 204. I was desperately trying to get him. Especially once Kincaid went to Jason at 201, I was like, all right, this is like the tight end I really want. I traded Kelsey in the offseason. This is the guy I want to go get. Like, they traded away Waller in Las Vegas. Mayer's, primed for a role. Garoppolo likes the tight end. Like, look what he does with Kittle. So I was really, really in to go get Michael Mayer, and I just couldn't work out a deal to move up. And Alexei gets him at 204. And I think this is a great pick for him long term at the tight end position.
Yeah, definitely, man. I had the 202, and I was thinking about Mayer for a little bit, but I ended up going in a different direction. Rich, I don't know if you were kidding or not, but I mean, you were teasing the idea of you taking this player at the 111. Obviously, you did not, but Will Levis I took at the 202. I'm not a crazy Will Levis guy. I've become more of one, obviously, now. Going to tennis, he's a weirdo. He is a weirdo. He's jacked though, so we'll give him that. Yeah, man. He's a pardon my take guy, so I appreciate that. Yeah, man. Will Levis, I mean, in Tennessee, you got Ryan Tannehill, obviously, who I believe he is his last year under contract. Maybe the Titans bring him back. Maybe they don't. We'll see. I just don't think Tannehill is like a difference maker for a team that the way Vrabel coaches the Titans, like, they're never just going to be really bad. Even if it looks like they should be, like, they're always going to compete regardless. That's just the way they play. My hope is Levis can, maybe next year take on a starting role. I don't expect him to do anything this year. But again, obviously for Dynasty, with the start of Superflex next year, this could end up being hopefully a big pick for me with a team that doesn't really have a true QB2 right now. So we'll see. I mean, I'm hopeful. He for a long time was projected to be a first round pick, and if not just first round, top 5. Obviously fell out of the first round entirely, so a little unnerving there. But I mean, I'm hopeful. He obviously does have talent. He's got a great arm. He can move. But is he a good quarterback? I don't know. I know last year there was a lot of injuries. The offensive line was terrible. But all excuses aside, we'll see how he does in camp. And I mean, it's still very early. I know Ryan Tannehill has a stranglehold grip on the starting job, obviously, as he should. But I mean, I think it's safe to say Malik Willis's career is pretty much done in Tennessee. I think that's safe to say. Or Rich, you probably disagree.
Well, what I'll say about Levis is that I was fully lying when I said I was going to take Levis. I wanted someone else to take him. So I was trying to act like I was, or trade up for him, knowing I would take him, so that's why Charbonnet would fall to me. So I was capping there. I also would have considered Levis if I hadn't made the move that I did in the offseason to trade for Kyler, because I was a little bit unsure about my quarterback situation as well. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to be great, but he like with how we said Richardson has like biggest upside potential in the draft. I think that in terms of dynasty value, you made a pick where it has the biggest potential to flip value wise. Like, if he ends up being like a productive starting quarterback in the league, then getting him in the second round is like a steal. It's based on where his value will be if he does turn into that. That being said, I think that Butterfingers Willis will come in, and he's been working hard this offseason, and he will come in ready to go and earn that starting job. And now I'm not capping at all.
Starting job.
Jeez, I didn't know this was the hot take episode. Jeez.
No, this is just me like begging and pleading, like, please be better.
Oh man, well we're gonna touch off that for now, but for the third round, Rich, who stood out to you? Who'd you like here, third round?
Well, I'm not gonna lie, it didn't really stand out to me. It's just a comment. Speaking of hot takes, like what stood out to me was that Bobby declared Hendon Hooker the best quarterback in the draft after Senia drafted him. Which, if you are the mayor of Hot Take City, Kev, then Bob is definitely like the the sergeant of the department, the police department there. Yeah. I mean, he's a nice talent, but I really don't like. Maybe he'll be like a solid career backup quarterback,
maybe.
And that would be cool, if you keep him on your roster long enough, maybe you'll be able to like start him some week that someone gets hurt, or maybe he'll give you like a Jacoby Brissett where like he does be a starter some years. It'll be good to keep him around. So great pick there for Senia. No smugness at all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like Hooker. I think he's a solid player. I mean, obviously coming off an injury now. He looked really good for Tennessee. I know Peyton was a big fan of him, Peyton Manning. But I definitely think I'm higher on him than you are, Rich. I definitely don't think he's the best quarterback in the draft. That's crazy.
To be fair, I know almost nothing. So.
But yeah, I mean, like, I think where Senia got him, I think is amazing value. Considering, I guess, obviously, keep saying it, but upcoming Superflex, you get him in like the mid third round. I mean, yeah, solid. It's gonna depend on if Detroit decides to resign Goff, which definitely could happen. And if he does, well, now what? I know he's kind of hoping that they decide to go in a different direction. And Hooker shows a lot of good things in camp. I mean, well, still recovering from the injury, but when he's healthy enough to practice and show something when he can, maybe the coaching staff decides, oh, maybe we can go in a different direction, have a better chance to win with Hooker. Will that happen? Probably not, but again, there's a third round pick for Senia, so baked into the value. But what about you, Jim? What do you got here? Third round.
Third round, I actually really like Grogan's pick here. Tank Dell, another guy that I was actually eyeing towards the back to maybe try to get into the third round here and take. Big-bodied receiver out of the University of Houston, stays in Houston. When C.J. Stroud was drafted there, he personally messaged C.J. Stroud tell Houston to come get me so they could play together. So I was really in on that, just for the fact that, one, they want to play together, and two, Tank Dell doesn't really have much competition to beat guys out at wide receiver. I mean, he's battling guys like Nico Collins and, John Mechie coming back. So, right away, he's got, a huge chance to take a big role in that offense. And for Grogan to take that guy, back in the third round here, that's a huge get.
Yeah. I don't know much about him, so I'm not even really going to comment. He's got a cool name.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, like, Tank Dell. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't want to be ignorant. Yeah, he's now tied with C.J. Stroud, so we'll see, the rookie connection there, and Jim, I didn't even know that story, so that's very interesting. I like to hear
Inside source, Jim. Let's go.
They call me Jimbo Shifter.
They do. So all right. So I guess. Oh, right. So I guess one thing I should.
Yeah, we're not passing over
hold
this.
the phone, you can't get past this one, Kevin.
You guys want me to talk about it, or you
Yeah,
guys
you
want
got it. Well,
Okay,
tell your
well-
perspective, your story of when you slept
right.
through your pick.
Oh, so we jump right. Okay. So what happened here? Everyone's like, "Oh, you slept through your pick?" Yeah. So I did actually. Silly old me. I was with some friends on a Saturday night. And some college friends, and the way we do, we stay up and we happen to have some beverages throughout the night. And unfortunately for me and my Dynasty team, I slept through my selection and missed out on Sam Laporta, who was drafted to the Lions, who very likely will win the starting job without much resistance, honestly. He's a great receiver, not much of a blocker, but I mean, with the Lions, I mean, they just, throw him the ball. Like, he's going to do well. That's who I would have taken here. Like I said, I missed my pick, and I missed several picks, actually, because Hooker was then taken, Zach Evans, Izzy Abanikanda, Tank Dell, Eric Gray, Jerome Ford, and Deuce Vaughn were all drafted before I could finally wake up and make my pick. And who did I take? Not a rookie. I went ahead and took Tyler Boyd because, we have the option to also draft free agents in our league. Tyler Boyd, he's not going to be the reason I lose a week per se. I think my receiver core is stacked. His depth, exactly. And I thought at the time I could just use a little depth. And my thing was, I want to have a player that I'm not going to cut, after what's left. And I figured a lot of these players here that were available, I'm like, are they even going to be on my roster by the time we need to cut it down to 25? I don't know. Tyler Boyd, I felt like he'll probably stick around, plug and play if I have injuries or whatever. Obviously the third option on a good team, but hey, if someone gets injured on the Bengals, who knows? He's shown that he can be pretty decent. But yeah, tough blow for your boy, because I was definitely a fan of Laporta. But good on Senia to take him immediately after me.
As they say, when you snooze, you lose.
I certainly did. I'm just happy I was able to have a solid second pick, and obviously my first pick is who I wanted. So can't be too mad. Tyler Boyd is Tyler Boyd, whatever. But all right, moving on. Getting into the fourth round here, the final round of the rookie draft here. Rich, who stood out to you? What do you want to talk about here?
I mean, it's hard to really pick out what stands out in the fourth round. This is just kind of like deep depth pieces, or just trying to retain some kind of value within the pick. I'm just gonna go with Carmine, who needed some tight end depth, picking my former man's Mike Gesicki, the gritty master. He's not like a top tight end by any stretch, but he's really like a big receiver at the tight end position. That's really all he is, which means he can, on like a good week, pop off for you. So, I just think it was solid to add some depth there for Carmine, who's not really looking to add young pieces right now. Just looking to add some quality NFL players.
What about you, Jim? Who stood out to you here in the fourth round?
I'm going to go Darnell Washington here. Tight end, another tight end pick by Alexi, adding to that room. Maybe would have gone somewhere else, but I hit fourth round, just try to go for value here. Overall, huge body, great blocker. Many seen him as could have been a good right tackle even, but plays tight end. Big body, showed some things in the combine with that amazing one-handed catch. So it's not like he can't catch the ball. I think he was just overshadowed at college by Brock Bowers. But besides that, I'm not saying he's necessarily coming to take the job from Freiermuth in Pittsburgh, but with his skill set, he should see the field quite a bit, and a nice safety blanket for Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, man, I like it. For me, I knew he was going to get drafted at some point in our rookie draft. I thought, what was it, the bottom bottom 5 pick in our draft here? Andrew went Stetson Bennett. Kind of a meme of a player in a way, but hey, he's how many championships does he have for Georgia? 2? Yep. Yeah. Hey, well done. He's kind of an old head. He's like 25 years old as a rookie. So not ideal, but he goes to the Rams, and Rams obviously with McVay, they run a good offense, and Stafford has injury concerns. I talked with Andrew about it, and he believes Bennett could be a value year one as a rookie. He thinks, is Stafford going to be healthy the whole year? I can't be so sure. So yeah, it's a cheeky pick, as I like to say. I mean, he's a winner. Obviously Georgia has always been stacked since he's been there, but he's got a good story. With the walk on, I think it's cool. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. He's obviously had great coaches, and now he's got another great coach in McVay, and now he has Cooper Kupp as a teammate and learning under Matthew Stafford. So, should be interesting for sure.
Yeah, I think we were all collectively talking before about who we think the winner of this draft was, and that would be Jason.
Yeah. Round of applause for Jason.
Yeah, everyone, he may not ever win, but he will consecutively be putting up good drafts. If let's just list off some of the players here that he ended this draft with. He got Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, C.J. Stroud. Just listen to the value in these names. Zay Flowers, pair with Lamar, Kendra Miller, Kincaid, who we didn't talk about. He also was the best tight end prospect in the draft. He ended up with, and we can keep going, but he had so many picks that it's like.
Those were the top picks, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So good on you, Jason. Like I said, I think that this is the start of a direction for Jason's team where, there's a lot of upside on his roster. So he really took advantage of this draft with both just making smart picks and taking advantage of some situations to make deals within the draft. So the drafter of the year goes to Jason.
And if I could just say really quick, I know you kind of said we would give him shit about when he would make these trades, just acquiring all these picks. I feel like it couldn't have gone any better for him. I mean, considering, like you mentioned, Rich, earlier in the show, he made that trade with Bob and, got the first overall pick. And it wasn't his pick, it was Bob's pick, and he got that with his third pick. I mean, yeah, wrap this up in a bow and take a nice picture, because this is what you would call a masterclass. And like you mentioned, with the trading to get CJ Stroud, it's impressive, man. And I really, like you said, I totally agree. I think this is just, after being an absolute dumpster fire for 2 years in a row, he might turn some heads this year, boys. He really might, especially with that 1-2 punch in Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs. So good for Jason, for sure.
Yeah, like you said, the way he made that trade, he foresaw that run on quarterbacks coming in the first round. He made sure he wanted to be a part of it. He didn't need to be the one, to take the first or second guy, but he got one of the top three just by making that one little trade. I mean, maybe not little. I mean, he moves on from Sky Moore, I think, was part of the deal. But still, to go on from that to pick up CJ Stroud, that's a huge move.
The no-brainer. Yeah, I mean, Sky Moore might lose out on his starting job this year, so we'll see.
And I think it's telling where you look at, again, we'll get into as the offseason goes on, what some of these teams look like now. And you see what a proper rebuild looks like and what absolute horrendous job of a rebuild looks like. And I think that Jason's doing it the right way, just getting a bunch of assets where it's even if he doesn't make all the right picks, the probability is high that some will pan out and get him some value. So again, we shit on you all the time, Jason, but today is your day, Jason. Good job.
And that'll wrap up our first episode in however many months. But boys and girls, everyone watching, thank you for watching us. We are the Dynasty Nation crew, and we'll see you guys again real soon for our next episode.